Well, I've come back from my meal break and I've also had to see the supervisor to explain a few things from earlier. And they also gave me some information in relation to my quality of my images, etc. I've made some adjustments while I was away. One of my colleagues did do a couple of moves for us. We've got a few people hanging around the depot because there's no trains that we're running um, in and out of the depot, so we were able to go ahead and share the load out a bit. But as I said, I've had something to eat and saw the supervisor, made some adjustments, and hopefully things will be a lot better, not only for me to record but for you to watch. Anywho, let's get straight into it. We've almost finished the bulldog corner. We have actually added another loco. One of my colleagues moved it. 4201, which came before the 44 class New South Wales loco. Painted in the scheme, which it still has today in heritage, by the way, the 125th anniversary of New South Wales Railways. And on the other side of the shed, down the back, we had 4836, which is a 48 class, painted in the same scheme, so we'll try and have those two next to each other. So let's get straight into moving stuff. So my next move will be to get that SSR CEY loco and move that out of the way. That'll be my next move. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to move it between the Indian Pacific NR class and the One Rail Orange Loco. Alright, just going to try a couple of settings here. Might just try and reduce the sound. I have tried to do it on my recording software. Might just try and do it here. There's so much noise. That's slightly better, I think. And the interesting is sometimes you'll make a setting and it won't necessarily stay saved. So it will really change unless you really notice it. Another thing that I tried to do is I actually did find a keyboard shortcut page. Oh, I went too far. Because I wanted to turn the engines off. But it appears as though those particular shortcuts aren't working. Could be an older version. Alright, we're good now. Alright, that's cool. That's SSR done. And facing the correct direction. Alright, when did I see that 48? Wow, I did not want to be over here. I did not want to be over here. Let's go back to over here. Ah, there's the 48. Wrong one. Lucky I saw that moving. Alright, let's just move that 48, that other 48 just back a bit. Alright. Wrong one again. Alright, that's cool. Now, one next to it, the 48 Bicentennial. Wrong one. Alright, so alright, I'm just going to put the 49 class. Actually, no, we'll run it near the Indian Pacific one that's next to the Crawfords. Actually, what I'll do, A little bit further. Alright. Alright. Now, so the 48. Oh, it clicked on something else. One of the shortcuts I didn't find out, by the way, was how to use the keyboard to move the turntable around. Alright, that's cool. Now while we're here, got a road vacant next to the 48. We'll go over to the 81. Alright. 81, 81, 81. There you are. All right, cool. Let's have a look now. With the all right. Three and 12. Now the easiest way at the moment, because we've got two CLP12s. All right, that way is not going to work. So what we might do is go to our drivers list, CLP12. Yeah, I've picked the right CLP. That's awesome. So we've sought permission to pass the stopboard. Alright. So we have done that. So that's another move done. So just a reminder, this is the Donnybrook map. I have made changes to it, and there'll be more changes in future episodes as I'm doing as I'm modifying it. I wouldn't have got anywhere near this 73 class if it wasn't for a map like that. I wouldn't have started to try and build a map like this myself. Alright, 73 class. Shunting loco. Actually, we'll just put it in front of the 81 class for a moment. Alright. So that works out well because I want to get the other 48 out. Now the 48 class is an interesting one. Originally built for lighter branch lines and as a shunting locomotive. There were actually 165 of these locos built for New South Wales government railways as they were at the time. They ran all sorts of trains. And because they were getting built, because they were getting built over such a long period of time, there's various variations or versions of the 48 class. So this is 4801, which is obviously the first one. Oops, too far. Alright, let's... Alright, this is... NR25. Well, I think it's that one. Alright, next we'll move the yellow 49 class. Now the 49 class were a shunting or branch line locomotive as well. Similar to the 48s, not uncommon to see 48s and 49s doing the same sort of work. There weren't as many as the 49 class as there were the 48 class. Alright, so let's... oh, there we go. I was about to think we don't have a driver for the 49 class, but we do. It's just switched to another loco. Damn it. We derailed. How did we derail? The turntable? Did I move the turntable? now's as good as time as any to do a save. Alright. Alright, let's go back into driver mode. Alright, they've moved. Alright. Alright, time to move the 73 class. Right, NR25. Alright, let's have a look. No, control right click, not control P. Details. I haven't done this with some of the older locos because I know that older locos aren't necessarily able to do what I'm doing, fine tuning things, because I do want all these locos in game. Oh, there's an NR class spec. Okay, cool. Walkway covers, that's important to have on. Because it does look strange actually if you take the walkway covers off at the back there. Alright. Alright, there's another Indian Pacific. Or at least I thought there was. Oh, I think that was one of the ones that are around. Okay, alright, I'm going to move the blue 90. Now, the 90 class is an interesting class. Originally designed and basically purpose built for the Hunter Valley coal trains and never really leaves the Hunter Valley. There are restrictions of how far the 90 class can go out of the Hunter Newcastle coal network. They basically form, or they did form, the backbone of the coal network until the different other various operators arrived. So they're still pretty good. There's a couple of different colour schemes that we'll see. This is the original freight rail blue that they were delivered in, because they were freight rail or freight corp at the time, and then they became eventually part of Pacific National. Oh, pardon me. Where are we? Walk. I think a couple more. Alright. One more. Alright, that's cool. I can remember actually, can I go back any further? I can remember when the 90s actually came out because they were so much bigger and heavier and everything else in relation to or compared to the 81 class that they were taking over from. 9001 class leader, we'll grab that. Alright, let's go. So the majority of the 90 class are running today. Most of them are in this specific national scheme. When you see them side by side, it's basically just the cabs that are a little bit different between the PacNat 90s Oh, actually, I knew there was one of these where I had to double check the doors or the panels at the back. Which I may not be able to do. Alright. Actually, while we're there, we might just adjust the other 90 next to it. Now, not going to be super perfect in the lining up of every single thing. Another thing is the time will change, shadows will change, etc. So you can't use the shadows as a marker. The 90 class and the 82 class, which we're about to move, all we have to do is move the 82 forward a bit. They were basically built as part of the same contract, and unlike many of the other locos that had come before it, the 82s and the 90s were basically one of New South Wales' first privately built and maintained loco fleets. Yeah, of course, that's just common. That's just standard practice these days. But back when they were introduced, not so much. We've got the 81 class there. That's cool. All right, I did see a... Oh, we want to move the Indigenous cube. So we'll just move it back a bit. All right, where was the other cube? Oh, I must have been looking at the two cubes that are out on the network. Okay. All right. Let me see. Oh, we could always put the Horizon Indigenous loco there next to it. Part of the plan for the open day is that all the locos will get a chance to be driven out onto the turntable, rotated around a few times, and then driven back in. I actually saw that to good effect in Japan, where I went to a railway museum south of Tokyo, and they had a steam loco that wasn't necessarily in steam, but they had the driver on one side and the fireman on the other side, and they had their Japanese train driving gloves, because Japanese train drivers, that's what they do. And so the people there were able to stay in the one spot, and the loco moved around the turntable. And I thought that was a really cool way of displaying them. Alright, we'll go to the Horizon Indigenous logo. Indigenous livered loco. And one too far. Alright. No, I was right the first time. Alright, let's go. Now we move that back. As I've mentioned before, Horizon was part of Queensland Rail. That became QR National, and now that's Horizon. It's interesting that they've chosen a loco that spends most of its, or pretty much all of its time on the Hunter Valley in a special indigenous theme, but it just spends a lot of its time just covered in coal dust. Now I understand why these trains get covered in coal dust and they don't get cleaned very often. I get that, but they look so much better when they're clean, and that's where I'm glad I got the option for clean locos here. All right. Now there are some locos that I'll just use the turntable just to turn them around. Alright, that's good. Just gonna move it off for a moment, because I do want to put the two orange locos together. So to do that, I'm going to have to move the SSR one. Alright, SSR. Alright. Sounds like the traffic's still going off its head at the level crossing. Alright. I'll put it next to the Indian Pacific loco. And one more, and we're good to go back. All right. Oh, just out of curiosity, we're going to settings. Control settings. I don't think there is actually a routes menu, new route rate menu, multiplayer. I don't think there is actually a way to I don't think there is actually a way to control the. Hang on, I want to get rid of the conflicts. Back in a moment. Alright, let's get back into it. Just trying a few things to help with. Oh, that's the wrong one. You know what I just realised, and I keep forgetting, is that I do have a button actually to mute my audio, or mute the game audio rather, while I'm talking. Oops. Have to definitely keep that one in mind for a noisy situation such as this. This is, I think this unit's actually from want to say WA, the Northern Territory. I'm waiting for the for an orange XRN or similar loco. Oops. Alright. We'll move the turntable again. Alright. So the loco we're hauling back here now is the member of the DL class, DL50. Now these were originally South Australian locos. That was part of the takeover of National Rail and then Pacific National. They do have a rather different shape. They have rather a different shape compared to the Streamliners, most definitely. They do remind me, and I haven't actually downloaded one yet. I need to look for them because the quality does vary depending on how old the units are. Reminds me of the Victorian C-Class a lot with that design. Now, there's still time before the exhibition. We are in the middle of a close down. We are in the middle of a close down for the whole area because of reconstruction. I think we're actually still in negotiations to hopefully get some C classes. We'll move the turntable one time. Now this one I'll just spin around and put next to the DL. Keep the South Australians happy. This is the AN class, so named after Australia National. And they are also part of the also came with the creation of Pacific National. So there weren't too many of the AN class actually built, and they were designed in part for more high-speed freight and also passenger trains. All right. Alright, so we've got one loco that I'm going to move. I am going to move it across. Give room for another AN class if I can find one. So this next one is interesting. Currently known as Rail First. They've had a couple of name changes over time. And they're more of a loco hiring company. So if you need a loco, but they don't necessarily operate the services themselves, although I guess they could. Alright, let's go back. Now, a lot of these locos were actually named after racehorses. Australian racehorses. I think their slogan was Australian horsepower, and that's why they did it. Alright, what I want to do, I just want to get into one of the orange locos. Alright, that's good there. Alright, so let's get, I think I've pretty much got everything. The ones that are here, I've pretty much got them parked the way that I will want to at this point. So, let's have a look around before we leave you. 4458, member of the 44 class New South Wales Government Railways. One thing that I forgot to mention about the 44s is there were two, if I remember, different subtypes of the 44 class. Now, I'm not going to try and remember where all these locos are now or what scheme they're in, but I can tell you what scheme they're in, but some of them may have had a colour scheme change since the time that these models were made. CLP 11 in the colour scheme of QR National. CLP 12, the Casper white livery of in SSR. And there's also one there, but we'll get rid of that one. Alright, so we'll just walk around, and then we'll do a few scenic shots to end up. So QRP 11 QR National livery, QRP 12 SSR white livery, CLF 1. This has become the standard colours now of SSR. White CLF 3. CLP 9 in on Precision Models livery. CLF 12 in the orange. 4201 and 4836 in the New South Wales Railways 125th anniversary livery. $48,165 and $81.72 New South Wales State Rail Bicentenary livery 1988. $48.01 in its as delivered Tuscan scheme. $73.01 in its CountryLink scheme as the shunting locomotive at Meeks Road. Just in relation to that and the 48 class, there are two 48 classes that they use these days to haul XPT carriages and power cars around. I don't think they've been modelled yet. We've got the FQ class. Actually, I should have a look where the FQ class come from because I'm not exactly sure. Oh, okay. I was partly right. These two orange locos, there were only 4 of them in the class, by the way, were built to run on the Northern Territory to South Australia, the Adelaide to Darwin line. And is pretty much the same spec as what was the West Rail Q class. So next to them, we have the Cube Logistics QL019. Cube actually do a lot of logistics work, including by rail, and they're actually recently successful in obtaining steelwork contracts and steel cartage that was formerly done by Pacific National. QL 019 and I think it's 020 are both in an Indigenous colour scheme. And next to it is Horizon 5024. Also, whoops, wrong camera. Oh, that's a good shot. Maybe if I zoom in a little bit, maybe. What camera even is that? Oh, it's a line side camera that I set up. That's better. So we've got the Horizon, both in Indigenous colours. I should be on the walk. I should be on the walk camera. The 2 Crawford units, PHC 1 and 2. One nicknamed Carrot, the other one nicknamed Spud. Carrot is 01 and Spud is 02. NR class Loco, National Rail now, Pacific National in Indian Pacific livery. Whoops, I'm off centre. There we go. So Indian Pacific livery. There's a few different locos for various trains that have been painted in different schemes in Pacific National history. Next to that is a CEY class of SSR, mainly on coal trains. Then we have CF 4405. Rail first these days. And various operators hire their locomotives to make up for the rail and short haul. Some Horizon locos are actually rail first locos, but they are in Horizon colours. You'll often see those on freight on the north and the northwest. Now we're going to leave some space for some C-class. So we've got AN6 in the Australian National Scheme. DL50 Pacific National was Australian National. Then we have $82.01 and $81.01 and $90.01. Originally Freight Corp, or if you go back to 8101, originally State Rail Authority, which become Freight Rail, Freight Corp, and then eventually part of Pacific National. And then finally, '9001 in the Pacific National colours and 9032 in the freight rail / freight corp team. So I'm going to crank up the engine noise. And get some screenshots. Hope you have enjoyed this episode. Still got a little bit of time to go before the Open actually starts. The track has to be reopened first, so they've had time to do some maintenance on some of these locos. Alrighty. So that took a long time. Actually, we will go. We'll go for I do have to remember that what I can see on screen is slightly different to what is actually happening. Well, so there we go. So to let you know what's going to happen over the next couple of episodes, we're in the middle of a major close down. And I did do some rebuilding, for instance, at Donnybrook a few episodes ago. But I've learnt a lot more since then, and things will be looking a lot better than they do now. Anywho, I have been Simulated Irk. You have been wonderful, coming to you from Donnybrook Loco. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.